Good evening, viewers, and welcome to our YouTube channel. You have just been watching some, well, not footage, but a rendered movie from Capture from a showcase that we received recently from Christophe Gasser in France. This is from the Firefighters Ball in Haguenau in Alsace in France. We thank Christophe for submitting his showcase to us, and he has or will receive in exchange a Capture 2021 upgrade once that is released next year. If you want to see more pictures or read about this, then check it out on our website under the Showcases section. And if you are curious about how to participate in the Showcase Reward program, you will find that information there as well. Tonight we have a plot special for you, but before we get to that, I would also like to inform you that we've got a new demo pack available for download from our website. You can find it under Downloads Demo Packs, and this demo pack is for the high-end Hog4 console. If you are unfamiliar with our demo packs, they are combined capture and console show files of the same matching show in order to get you up and running with Capture and your favorite console in no time. You can find several other demo packs there as well, along with instructions on how to use them. So check out the demo pack section on our website. So tonight we are going to be talking about plots in Capture, and I encourage you to participate by sending us your questions and thoughts on the live chat. Now, we had a minor hiccup at startup here, so I hope everyone has found their way into our new stream. Do bear in mind that as I'm going to be showing you a number of things, chances are that your question will be answered by me showing that in the stream. But nevertheless, do ask away, and I'll try and make sure to cover all your questions. Before we dive into Capture and start taking a look at the specific features, I think it's worth discussing a little bit where Capture stands in relation to plots. Plots are used by many people for many different reasons, in fact. We recently put out a question on the Facebook user group asking, who are you creating plots for? And it turns out that around 2/3 of the people answering said they create plots for others to use, and around 1/3 answered they create plots for themselves to use. But apart from who is to use the plot, I would say that there are two main reasons for having plots in the first place. The first one, obviously, is the technical documentation. It is like the recipe of the dish you have just made up. It's the blueprint of your lighting design. But it's also a creative tool. It's something you use and need in the lighting design process in order to complete your recipe, let's say. So, I mean, if you're an artist and you're going to create a painting, it's common that you will start with a few sketches. You may make some decisions on colors, and you will try them out, and you will make multiple sketches and throw them out before you start working on the final painting. So plots are not just the end result, but also the stuff that we draw and discard along the way to reach the final lighting design. So when computers entered the picture and someone wanted to start using computer software for lighting design, obviously it was natural to use a CAD software to help you create plots, because plots was what you were using to create lighting designs. We have a slightly different philosophy in Capture. Our approach to the thing is that, well, if you have computers and you're going to use them to help you in lighting design, maybe the plot making is not the best way to do that. This is why Capture tries to be a 3D environment for the lighting designer, where you can work as if you were in the real theater. as if you had the stage to yourself for days and weeks with all the scenery in position, and you could call in the actors wearing the right clothes, you could change scenes like that, and you were actually working with the real thing. That is what Capture tries to do. And then, when you have your lighting design done, in theory, the plot is just a click away, because you've already placed all the fixtures, you've assigned the channels, put in the filters and the gobos. So the information should be possible to use to auto-generate a plot. Now, of course, it's not quite that black and white, and you still do need to spend some time on the plot to make it pretty. And that is what we're going to be looking at tonight. We're going to be looking basically at all the features at your disposal to fine-tune your plot. So let's switch over to Capture, and in case you've just joined us, we're talking about plots tonight, and your questions are welcome in the live chat, which is somewhere around me in YouTube. So we're going to do this in two parts, and we're going to start with the absolute basics. And in order to do that, I've got a blank project. I'm switching one view to plot. The other will remain in wireframe, but I will switch that one to a top view as well. Zoom in a bit and hide the widgets. So let's do something basic. Let's take a pipe and put two fixtures on it. I'll go to the truss library. I'll search for the generic bar, and I will very much turn off the volume of my laptop, or this is going to get quite awkward. There we go. So I drag the bar into the design. This is optional, but I'm going to bother and put it at 5 meters because I have OCD. So we've got the pipe. Now you may have noticed I dragged it into the plot view. I could have dragged it into the wireframe view, doesn't matter. And I promised you some fixtures, so let's have a row BDLX spot and perhaps a source for, and this time I will drag it into the wireframe view. Now at this point you could argue whether am I creating a plot or am I drawing in 3D. Now you remember I put the pipe at 5 meters, which in a sense is the difference between working in 3D or 2D. But from a top view kind of perspective, it's the same. So now we have a couple of fixtures, and since we have one view in paper mode, you can see that the plot is already beginning to be created as I'm working on the design here. And there's already some information for these two fixtures. So let's start with taking a look at what information we can put on the plot for fixtures. So I'll go to selected items and scroll down a bit here. Now you should be able to see most of it despite me standing quite close to it. At the bottom of the properties of the fixture, there's a number of plot symbol options. And the first one I want to show you is the one called focus. So imagine we're going to focus this source for on the door. Then I could put door as the focus property, and this information then appears at the very front of the fixture. The next piece of information that Capture can pick up on is filters and gobos. So let's throw in a filter. Let's throw in something from Roscoe. Maybe the dark salmon. Now you can see E008 for the E-color number 8, dark salmon, appears automatically in front of the fixture. The next piece of information here is the optic of the fixture. So if I were to change the optics of the fixture, which we have down here. Now for this fixture, it's actually mostly about the lamp, but there are other fixtures where you actually change the field angle, like the Parcan with the EXE, EXG, and different lamp and beam options. So if I do change the lamp here, this is automatically reflected up here. Now, in many cases, you might not be too interested in that piece of information. And then there is a property called show optics, which we can turn on and off to show or hide the optics information. I'm going to leave it on for the moment. So continuing our journey from north to south, the next piece of information would be the unit number of the fixture. This is a optional, well, most of these fields are optional. It's up to you whether you want to use them or not, but the unit takes characters and numbers, and you can pretty much type anything. So you could say AB34. This might be your unit name of this fixture. Further down below the symbol are three more things, or four more things actually, that can appear. Let's start with the most important ones, and those are the channel number of the fixture, that is the desk channel number. So this might be desk channel 34. There is also a circuit property, the house circuit number. This might be outlet 123. And finally, there is the DMX patch information, where we might patch the fixture to universe B DMX channel 12. So now you can see pretty much all the information that is automatically shown by Capture for a fixture. There is one field left, and that is hidden by default. And this is the wattage information that normally appears at the bottom of the fixture. Now, the information I just entered is something that you could have entered as part of preparing the show, and then when you switch one of the views from wireframe to plot, it sort of auto-populates around the fixture. So you don't need to drag in these boxes or draw them or type the text manually. It follows the information in the project. So if you repatch the fixtures, if you import data or anything, then what's shown in the plot updates automatically. Just checking briefly on the question here. Yeah, so now you might ask, why do we show the information in this order? Why does it look this way? Why is focus above the filter, as I think Peter is asking? The order of information, the shapes they are in, follows the USITT RP-2 standard or draft, or to be honest, I'm not sure what the status of it is, but it is a document originating from the USITT proposing a drafting standard. And that one specifies that the information would go in this order for the fixtures, and we have followed that quite manically. Yes, because we thought that was a good idea. So this was with a conventional fixture. We still have the DLX spot to the left here, where you could input the same kind of information. It would appear the same way. The only difference is that there is a power bolt here up in the corner. This indicates what side of the fixture, north, southwest, or east, where the power cable comes into the fixture. So this is important for rigging and for orienting your fixtures in relation to their home pan position. So this is the information that you can have with fixtures in Capture, and I've shown you how to input that. Now I'm going to move on, like a TV chef, to another project file, or a project file, that I have prepared for the purpose. Now this contains a lighting design, but I have not done anything at all with regards to the plot. There is, of course, information here already, such as for the parkhands here about circuit numbers, DMX patch, and desk channel, but that's because I have input this information in the Fixture tab in Capture as part of the lighting design process, and I might even already have connected Capture to a lighting console to do pre-programming. So the next step now, because printing this as a plot would not be a very good idea, you want to give it some love and time and make it readable and enhance the plot a bit before you hand it over to someone else. So let's dig into the things we can do in terms of adjusting the plot and what it looks like. The first thing we're going to take a look at is fixing the fact that the annotation, as we call it, the circuit, patch, and desk channel number here appears on top of the filter information. This has happened because of the orientation of the fixture, which is quite specific here. I basically created this so that we would have something to fix. So in order to do something about this, we need to move some information here. This is done by clicking the plot adjustment icon up here. So when the little broken link icon is highlighted, the right one, we can move things on the plot without moving things physically. So if we zoom in wireframe here, you can see that I can move the symbol of the parcan without moving the actual parcan, because this is a plot adjustment. So it doesn't affect reality. This may be confusing for Vectorworks users, because in Vectorworks the term symbol can mean literally anything. But in Capture, a symbol is a 2D outline fixture symbol or other device symbol that represents a fixture. Now, I've messed around a bit here, and I want to undo that. So there is a command called clear plot adjustments that snaps everything back where it was from start. Now, if I double-click on the circuit, DMX patch, or desk channel, I can select these three together separately from the actual fixture symbol. And this allows me to move the information, for instance, to the other side of the fixture. Now, in this case, I have a number of fixtures where I want to do essentially the same thing. So let's undo that back. Let's select the parcans. Actually, now I got the truss as well, so I'm going to reselect only the parcans. Now, there is a trick here, or a function called select only annotations. This selects only the desk channel, circuit, and DMX patch annotations of all the selected objects, which allows me to very easily move these together, since we have a symmetric arrangement here, to the other side of the parcans. So I could do the same thing with these parcans as well. Select only annotations. Then I use the Shift button on the keyboard to make sure that I'm only moving them vertically and to the other side of the fixtures. Excuse me. So this is one task that you will quite commonly have to do in the plot because information becomes cluttered. Another very typical example where you need to use the same kind of approach is when you have vertically stacked fixtures. So I believe Mark Lapierre asked this very question. So if we move this to a front view, you can see that we have two vertical side pipes with 4 parcans each. These are the ones in the blue left and right side groups, which has some blue side light in a corridor on the front of the stage. So when I take a look at this in the top view, I only see one symbol, and that's because I'm looking at it from above. So the standard approach in Capture would be to select them one by one with paper adjustments enabled, and then you need to apply some method, the method of your choice, or convention on how to break those fixtures apart to show them. This, of course, is in a top view. It's also perfectly possible to have a section or side view in plot mode. This doesn't use the fixture plot symbols. It uses the 3D model of the fixture instead. But you can see that we have the annotations here. So another way when printing the actual plot of representing the vertical truss would be to add an inset that is actually a section view instead. So you have a couple of choices here. Mark Lapierre is asking whether we can do this with the pipe itself. That question could mean a couple of different things, but what is important here is that plot adjustments that we can turn on and off are available for any type of object. So I can make a plot adjustment for the pipe. I believe there's also an annotation for the pipe, so this is LX10, and I can move that annotation for the pipe individually from the pipe as well. I could even rotate the pipe, although only in 2D. So there are a number of adjustments you can do depending on what you're looking for. To be honest, I don't know if there is a convention on how you would break apart the symbols for a vertical truss, which one would be the uppermost or lowermost. You can certainly, because Capture knows the actual height of the symbols, one neat trick is to actually make them intentionally overlap a little bit, as this then sort of automatically conveys the depth order of the fixtures you have here. All right. Before I move on, I did show you the function called select only annotations, which selects the annotation. Another very handy function when doing this type of cleanup work is the select all by fixture type. Because depending on what you're designing, of course, chances are you need to make the same type of adjustments for all fixtures of the same type. So you could start with select all by fixture type, you might continue with selecting only the annotations, and then you could move the annotations of all these fixtures together, as well as, of course, rotate them if that is your kind of thing. Personally, I wouldn't intentionally place text upside down because that's kind of hard to read, but you can do that. Checking in on the questions in the meanwhile. So select all, select only annotations, we've done that. So the next question now might be, and especially if you're printing on a larger piece of paper, is the readability of the text, the size of the text. And here, Capture allows you to change the size of different kinds of text, and this is managed through plot styles. So if we scroll to the bottom of the design tab, you will find plot styles. Let's add one. Now the next trick is that we need to apply the plot style in order to see what we're doing with it. So I can either drag and drop it on an individual view, or I can right click and say apply to all views, and now I know that my new plot style will affect all views. Now I'm mostly standing in front of this, so I'm just very quickly going to move the window a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing here. So here are a number of options. The first ones correspond to the text sizes. So we have the one called text size. So if we increase this, I'm going to go crazy here so that you can see what happens. But now I've more than doubled the size of the annotation texts, which did not look particularly good at all. We also have the symbol text size, which affects, let's not go quite as crazy this time, the text in front of the fixture. And there's also the small text size, which would be the optics information or the wattage information that we looked at earlier. You can try out these sizes at your own. It's probably easier just to change a few to see which is which than trying to learn them by heart. There is also a symbol scale where you could actually scale up all fixture symbols or scale down all fixture symbols in a plot style. Moving on from the text size properties, there is then a list of checkboxes where we can hide and show individual types of information. So here is where you could, for instance, hide the slot frames, which is the filters and gobos. You could hide the channel, patch, the circuit. And this allows you to create different plot styles for different purpose plots. So there is maybe the electrician wants one type of information while the desk programmer wants another type of information. It's up to you to define what that information is and to make that choice in the plot style. Now let's take a look at, let's move away from the plot styles and take a look at some other options we have. And these are all fixture specific. So the plot styles apply to the entire drawing, whereas fixture specific options are found under selected items in the design tab. So here, if we scroll down to the plot area, there's also a symbol scale, and this one allows us to scale individual fixture symbols as we please. Then there is a symbol usage property where we could say that we would rather use the 3D objects look instead of the dedicated plot symbol. The default option is to only use the dedicated symbol in top views, which means that in section views you will get the 3D object model instead. Andre is asking, usually I have a problem with PAR to show a lamp position in PARCAM. Is there any way I can show it in the plot? Capture does not have a dedicated function to show the orientation of the PAR lamp. My best recommendation would be to get creative with the focus property, where you could type things like vertical banana. I believe the French use the term banana for the oval shape of the beam. Or if you wanted to use some kind of symbols to denote the orientation, you could do that as well. But we don't have a better solution than that, I'm afraid. So we were looking at some other properties we have down here for the fixture. Now, in this design here, I have a number of, this will be hard to see. I have bunches of PARCANs filtered in different colors. So one trick we could use is to select all of those PARCANs, locate a property called color by filter, and turn that on. This automatically colors the fixture symbols by the filter or filters in the fixture. Yes, we've done that. So let's move on to what we call the actual plot editor in Capture. So far the changes we have done have been for the entire project or individual fixtures, but now we need to lay out our drawing on a piece of paper that will be the actual plot by the end of the day. We do that by scrolling down to the plots, we add a new one, we open the editor, and here is the paper layout of our plot. So we right-click to insert views, which gives us a top view in this case. You can change the type of view up here if you want. And quite importantly here, you have the ability to choose between the different plot styles you have created. So this is where you would switch between one plot style for the desk programmer or another one for the electrician to filter out different types of information. So next thing to show you is related to the fixture symbols themselves. And I'm going to start in the Library tab by scrolling down to Symbols. Here you will find all the fixture symbols we have in the library. And here you have the ability to choose any fixture symbol and apply that as a replacement symbol for a fixture. So if you don't fancy the symbol we've given, there are a number of symbols that you can use in the library. For instance, some may prefer the old school Dean symbols and apply those to all fixtures. We also have a USITT RP2 category with the suggested plot symbols from USITT that we can apply. And of course, we can also apply the plot symbol from any other fixture. So this was a James Thomas Parkan, but if for whatever reason we preferred the symbol from the ETC Celador, we could use that instead with the fixture. So this is how you would replace the symbols in Capture. The next operation which is connected to this is the symbol key in the plot. So this one automatically lists the symbols or fixture types in the project, and by default it also counts how many of them you've used. This is configurable by double-clicking the symbol configuration property, where you can make a number of options per symbol. You can choose to hide or show the counter of how many fixtures are of this type, as well as if you can hide it completely or just write whatever you want instead, Lars' own text here, for instance. So there is some room for customization here. Now, once the symbol key has been generated, it does not auto-update as you are working on the design. If you've modified your design, you need to go into the symbol configuration and hit the refresh key symbol list. Now in this case, I haven't actually added or removed anything, so nothing happens, but this is when the numbers would update and the symbols would update. Another slightly hidden feature of the symbol key is its ability to interact with layer colors. So let's take a brief look at the layers of the project and how we can use them to enhance the plot. So the number one thing I would suggest is examining the paper solid color, paper text color, and paper color properties. So I do have a layer here called Fixtures Fixed. So these would be the fixed rig fixtures of the theater as an example. Here I could go in and choose a paper solid color to highlight all those fixtures that are fixed in the rig. And I might choose another color for the fixtures that are temporary or specific for this production. So coloring in the layers using the paper solid color is a great way of improving the readability of your plot. But I would also point out that apart from just choosing different hues or shades, can you say that? So now I've used green and pink, but I could also go in and apply different grayscale colors here. So we have a number of pipes and trusses here, and something I would suggest is reducing the paper color blackness of the trusses. Really brings out some contrast between the fixtures and the rest of what you've got going on. You can also change the color of the text in the fixtures. So if we don't like black, we could have different text color per layer. Now I mentioned a function in the plot symbol key having to do with layers. So let's go back here. Let's open the symbol configuration and refresh it. Now you will notice that the layer colors now appear in the symbol key. So whenever all of the fixtures using the same symbol are in one layer, the color of that layer is applied to the symbol key. So some might create individual layers per fixture type. So that is one way of coloring fixture types differently. Some might prefer it not to do it that way, but it is an option, and it's good to know. So one of the last things I want to show you, Mark Pierre is also asking, can we add wattage in the symbol key? There is no automatic way for this at the moment. So you would need to switch to the custom text with count and manually type in the wattage information that you need. It's not the most elegant, but it is the best way of achieving that effect. So finally, annotations, or these little boxes with information that appear automatically next to objects, also appear for things like trusses. So we already moved the annotation of one of the trusses, but I want to show you that specifically for trusses, there are some more options available here. So we can make sure to automatically show what type of truss it is. This is more interesting for things like manufacturer-specific box trusses, or rectangular or triangular and so on. This is just a generic truss, so it's a little bit boring. We can also add the dimensions, as well as the trim height, which is the lowest point of the truss construction. So if you have a tilted piece of truss, the trim height would be the bottom point of the truss. And of course, you can double click on that annotation and place that separately if you want. So I think a common use case for trusses might be to put all the truss or pipe labels on the side of the trusses in a neat little column, which you could do. So we could use the mass select to select the trusses. Again, select only the annotations and move those out to the side here, like this. Now I had already moved one of them, so I messed up a bit here. So let's take these three, select the annotations, and move them out to the side here. Now you will notice that there is a snapping for the annotations as well, which works better if you zoom in a bit, so that you can align the annotations as you want to have them. So the annotations snap together, center or edge aligned. So you could snap them like this as well. So I think we are nearing the end of the session. We have another question from Bart. Does Capture have a way of drawing cables or breakouts in a project? That would make a project complete. So we don't have any dedicated cabling function as such, but it is worth pointing out that in the symbols category in the library, there is one called generic, where we have a few symbols that you can, okay, so the smoke machine is a corny example, but you can drag in things like the sightline, the wall light. I believe there's a power outlet symbol as well. Here is the duplex outlet. So you can drag these various symbols in from the library tab. You can add an annotation as well. So that would go under plot annotation text. So this might be a, people label their cabling quite differently. But I just want to show you that you can make use of the generic symbols as a way of inserting textual information along with the symbol in the plot under the generic category in the library tab. Mark is also asking about curved pipes. I don't yet understand how your tools work for custom curves, and I spend a fair amount of time in theaters with curved positions. Let's see if I can make a quick example. In the library tab under truss, generic bar, we have one bar section that is 45-degree section of a 6-meter diameter curve. So if we drag that into the design, you can see it has a curve here. Now, under the properties of the bar, you can edit the circle diameter of the circle that, well, the truss circle, and in degrees how large the segment is. So if I were to increase that to 90 degrees, I will get a full quarter of that curve. And if the diameter was, say, 10 meters, this is what I would get. So you need to know the inner diameter, or so not the inner, the diameter of the circle of truss itself, and in degrees how large the section is, the segment of that truss. But it is not possible to create something that is doesn't follow a perfect circle. And last question for tonight before we cut it is from Jerome. He's asking whether it's possible to import custom symbols. It is not at this point. Depending on your needs, though, you can email library@capture.se and ask for symbols. So if symbols are missing for a fixture that you use and you get the generic USITT symbols, then you can request us to draw a dedicated symbol for that fixture. There is no way at this point of importing completely custom symbols. Excuse me. And finally, Mattis asks, is it possible to add a ruler to the plot? At this point, it is not. You could sort of half fake it by using the distance measurement and snap multiple distance measurements together like this, but it's very much not the type of ruler I think you're looking for. But it's the best workaround we have at the moment. So I want to thank you all for watching tonight, and I hope that you've learned something about how to improve the plots that you're working with. I can give away that plots is one of our major priorities actually for the next Capture version next year, which is of course still quite far away at this point. So again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in about another month with a new webcast. So see you soon again.